How is everyone doing today? And in this video, we actually have some early access footage for Jiaoqiu, and it's because in the story, you actually get to play him for a little bit of time, and you're able to make your own team as well. I did end up taking him into two different teams. One of them was a little too overkill. I really didn't get to try out Jiaoqiu as much, and the other team I changed out to be a little bit more weaker to make it make a little bit more sense for Jiaoqiu. And overall, my first impressions of him before we get into his kit, which you can see very slightly of because they do like to hide details from us in the story portions of their kit. But looking at him in first impressions, before we talk about his kit, before we talk about his gameplay inside the game as well, Jiaoqiu is strong. Jiaoqiu is going to be a super crazy character for Acheron specifically, and for many more characters down the line, especially with what he's able to give through his traces and what he's able to give through his talents and skill and ultimate. Yeah, he's going to be a nasty character, but we're going to, of course, go ahead and talk about everything that we need to and showcase off his gameplay with, of course, talking about Jiaoqiu. So before we get into all that, make sure you leave a like, comment, sub, all the different type of stuff, and let me know if you've already summoned for Young Lee or if you summoned for Jiaoqiu. But let's go ahead and start looking at his gameplay for the most part. And the thing I want to look at first is, of course, the kit for Jiaoqiu. Of course, his basic attack is just gonna be a regular basic attack. His skill is going to be doing fire damage to a single enemy and then minor fire damage to adjacent targets, so it is a blast AoE with a high chance to inflict one stack of ashen roast on the primary target. So the target that you are hitting at the current moment, he's gonna have the most chance to be getting this debuff from Jiaoqiu. But of course, when we talk about his talent, then you'll see other reasons why this is going to be changing a little bit. After looking at the skill, we see that the ultimate is going to do set the number of ashen roast stacks on enemy targets to the highest number of ashen roast stacks present on the field. So let's say a boss on the field has 5 stacks on them. If you were to have a enemy on the side that just spawned in and you use the ultimate, then it's going to allow the boss with max stacks to be able to transfer those max stacks to everybody else on the field, making it so that everyone's taking the most amount of ashen roast when it comes to them taking that burn dot, because ashen roast as a debuff does consider them being burned. So this is a really cool thing for Jiaoqiu. Not only is he viable for Acheron, but he has some potential to be played with on the dot team as well, especially with all that he's able to give. But besides him being able to restack these ashen roast stacks onto different enemies, you're able to create a zone on the field, and this is going to deal fire damage to everybody. And while they're inside this zone, enemy targets will receive more ultimate damage. Now we're going to, of course, talk about why that's so important in a quick minute, but when they're in that zone, they have a chance to be inflicted with 1 stack of ashen roast when taking action. So whenever an enemy decides to do their attack, they have a chance to inflict the debuff on themselves. And guess what happens if they're inflicting debuffs on themselves? Acheron's able to get her energy points a lot faster. Acheron's able to get her ultimate much quicker. And to see how fast it stacks up when you have Jiaoqiu's field on the actual battlefield and you have Acheron on the team, yeah, it's a little busted. I'm not gonna lie. What Jiaoqiu's able to give for Acheron and also for a bunch of other teammates is going to be a little bit absurd. I'm not going to lie to you. And then, of course, going into the talent, we're going to see that after attacking, so simply when you use your basic attack, use your skill, use your ultimate, you have a chance to inflict 1 stack of ashen roast on a target, causing them to be burned, and of course then to take increased damage as well. So you have 3 things going for Jiaoqiu, or really 4 things going for Jiaoqiu. One of them is that no matter what, when he attacks, he has a stack to inflict a debuff. That's a very strong thing for Acheron. That means no matter what, when you're using his skill, which you're most likely going to be doing, or his basic attack, you will always have a chance to inflict a debuff, allowing Acheron to be able to take out a stack for her energy, which is a really good thing for him. The next thing is that when you're using your skill, you have the ability to give increased damage because you will be inflicting ashen roast to 3 different enemies from this. So like I said before, when you do your skill and you go against a primary target, you are going to be able to inflict ashen roast on the primary target, but because of this talent being able to give you a high chance to inflict an ashen roast, you're able to also hit those other 2 adjacent units as well with that ashen roast debuff, allowing you to get that increased damage buff, which is super strong for Jiaoqiu. And then not only that, when you're in his ultimate, you're able to give those inflicted debuffs when they take their action, helping out Acheron, and you're giving up ultimate damage, which is good for enemies or allies, I mean, for Acheron, for Argenti, for Yun Li, who just came out, whose follow-ups are considered as an ultimate once you do that parry. Jiaoqiu has a lot of potential, but of course, let's go ahead and look at exactly how he works in game. Now, I don't know exactly how I did this when it came to the showcase of the overkill portion, but I think I was trying my best to figure out how to get him to do all his debuffing stacking which it was super hard. I honestly didn't know exactly what to do, and I think I accidentally killed a bunch of these wolves after this ult. It's a high chance. Oh, actually, I maybe didn't. Hopefully I didn't. It'd be really good if I didn't. Oh, but acheron's probably gonna one-shot like half of these guys, ain't it? I think that's gonna be the case. Oh, not really. Okay. Oh, okay, I see the problem here. They all died before they took their debuff. That's the issue here. Okay, so if you don't let yourself get to the point where they're able to actually do the damage to you, then you're not going to get the stack from the Ashen Rose. So that's a big thing to note. It is going to be a little bit more interactive with the game. I think right now, a lot of what Yun Li and Jiaoqiu are doing is you paying attention to the game. I think these characters right now are making it so that when you are playing this game, you need to pay attention when to use your stuff, so that way you understand, how am I getting all these stacks? When am I getting all these stacks? How am I pairing? When am I pairing to get the most value out of my ult? I think a lot of this stuff is playing into paying attention to what's happening on field, and I think that's a really cool thing to see. Of course, we are going to change the team a little bit. I want to try and see exactly how we are going to look at all of these different, because I have so many different portions of this, so that I try my best not to die, and also to figure out how to get him to do all that he has to. But let's go ahead and go further in. I think this is the better showcase for this. Oh, and here we go. Ashen Rose. Ashen Rose increases damage received by 15%. I don't know if the talents were maxed when I checked over the skills, but the Ashen Rose is going to be, this unit can be considered as burned, and they increase their damage by 15%. And while Ashen Rose is active, take fire damage at the start of each turn. So there's a really cool thing to see when it comes to him having an innate debuff, and a really strong one at that, being able to give you that much damage increase, which is really cool. And as you can see, actually, this is the best case use of looking at how this works. If you see the enemies, he has 15% damage received from Ashen Roast. If we go on to the next enemy, which we do in a quick second, he has 2 stacks of Ashen Roast, and he has a 20% debuff. So this can go up to 5 stacks, of course, as we know from all the dots. And once you get to the 5, what is it? We had 15 at the start. That's 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. 35% increased damage received from just the Ashen Roast buff, which you get from every attack you do, including whenever they take their action as well. When you have your ultimate up, you're going to be stacking this up even faster, and you're going to be spreading this when you use your ultimate. Jiaoqiu is going to be absolutely insane for a bunch of different characters in this game, and I think, if I'm not wrong, I can let this gameplay play out, because I think this is the one where I actually understood what I was doing, and also understand how to get all the stacks going, how to get everything going with spreading out the stacks, getting all the stacks for acheron. I used my acheron ult preemptively right now. That way I was able to just waste it to see how good the Jiaoqiu stacking is with his ultimate. So what I did was use Jiaoqiu's ultimate before all these enemies, and this gives me a stack for acheron. Now you see acheron stack, there you go, there's a 3, and the next enemy's about to take their action, there's a 4. Ooh, look at that. Now I didn't want to use Gallagher's ult because this stopped these 2 enemies from stacking. So if you had another character, like let's say Aventurine, who was able to stop damage but not hinder all these characters to not take their actions, you would be getting a lot faster when it comes to acheron's ult coming out, because since I'm breaking them, we're lowering them down in the action line, and it makes it a little bit harder for me to actually get the stack from them to get that, you know, value from using Jiaoqiu's debuff. But of course, I went ahead and tried my best to keep them alive, to keep showcasing off the stack mechanic. And of course, these guys are story enemies. You wouldn't usually break these guys as quickly, and honestly, looking at Jiaoqiu's damage, him being able to do an 11k crit hit with the mid build that story gives, I wonder how much damage he's actually going to be able to do with the full build. I think in the story, they actually gave him Pioneer, which makes a lot of sense in my honest opinion. So I think Jiaoqiu is going to be a very strong and really good character to look at, and I can't wait to see what exactly we are going to be able to do with them when the time comes. And I know a lot of people are not so keen on Jiaoqiu, but I do think with what he's able to give, and if we look further into his kit whenever we get the chance to, I think it's going to be one of the strongest units in the game for sure. Being able to have that increased damage buff, plus that ultimate damage buff, plus being able to give debuffs whenever enemies take their attack, you're giving a lot of viability to a bunch of different characters. Universally, that damage bonus, for people that love the ultimate damage bonus, which is Acheron, Argenti, and any other character in the future that may like their ultimate, and then looking at how he's able to do damage as well, I think he's just going to be a really nice character. And I kind of can't wait to see what the potential of what he can do is going to be looking like. I think he's going to be a really nice character in the future. But as you can see, he's taking his action. Acheron got a stack. He's going to take his, never mind, he's dead. But he took his action and I got a stack from that. So it's really cool to see that when these enemies are taking their steps, look at that, another 3. We can go back a little bit and see that I was at 1 stack. We smacked up this enemy. I got a stack from my basic, and then another stack from him taking his action while he was in the zone. So that gave us our extra debuff, which is, man, that's actually so strong for Acheron. And that further installs the truth of what we've been saying about Acheron, is that she's only just getting started. We're going to get characters as time goes by that's just going to make her feel absolutely broken, because the sky's the limit of what she needs. When it comes to her not needing energy and her being a more team reliant character, more characters coming in the nihility path, more characters that are able to do debuffs, allow Acheron to start breaching the limit of what this game is able to do. And she's able to do nasty damage, get her ultimate nastily quick. She's just going to be an overall monster in this game, and she's going to stay that way for such a long time. But of course, these guys are going to take their actions, and we're going to see there's a debuff for Acheron. The next one starts. Actually, he didn't get a debuff, funny enough, so I failed that high chance, and I failed that high chance as well, which is kind of crazy that I failed those high chances. I don't like RNG in these games, in my honest opinion, when it comes to characters' kids, but if the chance is high enough, then I guess it's fine. I think we go in a little bit further to try and get a couple more actions in, or at least try to get Pella's ultimate with Jiaoqiu's ultimate. That way we can see how much damage I can do with 3 enemies on the field. And the amount that I saw was actually a little absurd. I'm not gonna lie to you. So we use Jiaoqiu's skill, I think, for the most part. Oh no, we use his ultimate. Okay, so we re-up this ultimate, which makes 100% sense. So we have the ult damage vulnerability. We have Ashen roast up to 5. So this means that they are taking what, 35%, if I'm not wrong, or 30% damage increased on top of the ultimate damage increase. So Acheron's already there with 9 stacks. We're gonna have Pella go in with the ultimate. So now we have a defense drop, we have ultimate damage increase, and now we also have a damage increase on top. So you have 3 nasty scaling buffs on top of these enemies, and it's all AoE, which is the craziest part about it. And then we go into Acheron's ult, which is an all res pen boost to her ultimate, also shredding any toughness bar in the game as well. So we have that 1 hit 155, 2 hit 311, 461, going into 851k with only 3 enemies on the field. And I just think Jiaoqiu is going to be so nasty. I think Jiaoqiu is going to be such a cool character for Acheron, and a really exciting one at that for what we're going to see in the future. I think seeing these type of supports who are able to do damage, who are able to have this type of mechanic of a field and showcase off how strong they are without them doing anything, I think that's a really cool thing. Him to do damage off field, which is his dot, him being able to increase damage increase, him being able to give debuffs without having to do anything with the enemies attacking them, giving the debuffs in themselves, and then overall just the damage he does himself. It's just a lot of really cool stuff. I cannot wait to see what these new gen of characters are doing. Yunli already made me happy in regards to her performance and how fun she is. Jiaoqiu is about to probably do the same for me. I know a lot of people aren't excited for Jiaoqiu, but I definitely am for sure. And then we got Fei Xiao coming out. We got Ling Xia coming out. There's a lot of really cool characters coming out very soon. So the meta is changing, and we're seeing a lot of these crazy characters have so many portions to their kit that put a lot of the Gen 1 characters further into the ground and rise up these Gen 2 characters, because they have so many capabilities that they have to themselves that they're just super strong. But other than that, that's probably going to be it for this video. That's all I recorded with Jiaoqiu when it comes to that small little showcase at the end. And of course, like I said, I had a showcase where I absolutely murdered the heck out of all these enemies on accident. That's my bad. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching the video. See y'all guys in the next one, and peace.